Hello, everybody. Welcome to Panic-Free Public Speaking. Now I can talks for social occasions. I'm Laurie Smale. I'm a master speaking coach, and I've been helping people to believe in themselves and speak with confidence for more than 40 years. And so we're going to do the same for you in this mind-opening half hour. I'm the author of the book, How to Take the Panic Out of Public Speaking, which is the backbone of this program. I also have a presence online, and with my weekly quotes of inspiration I've drawn from my life experiences every week. And not to mention my weekly magic minutes, little snippets of life to brighten up your day. My monthly articles go a bit further into this sort of topic. And what about my newsletter that goes out monthly, email, LinkedIn, and other platforms? So if you want to follow, subscribe, or notify me in any way, there are my platforms all over here at the side, or subscribe to my newsletter through LinkedIn. My QR code to say hello or drop me a line or want me to answer a question for you, there it is. Go straight to my contact page on my web. A couple more quick points. I acknowledge the traditional owners on which we stand, and slides and video recording link will be mailed to all registered guests. Please add any questions or comments you wish on chat, or drop me a line on a review on my QR codes at the end of these slides. So, how to talk freely on a social occasion without the panic. Now, look, here we've got a group of people, and you can see they're all, this is what an audience is like. This is an outdoor setting. Now, whether they're outdoor like this, or in your lounge room, or at a reception room, or some other gathering point, they're there to celebrate something, not to bring you down. Really, it doesn't make sense if you think that's what they're there for. You've been out to this sort of occasion, and you're there hoping the whole thing's going to be wonderful, including the speakers are going to be interesting. So that's very important. But they feel this way because they're not the ones that are giving the speech. That's you. So you're panicking, you're feeling nervous. So here's what to do to get rid of those nerves in the first couple of minutes. You see, they're all nice and comfortable. They're sitting there feeling good. You're the one that's panicking. So here's what we've got to do. We've got to get all this reckless, destructive nerves out of our system and into that warmth. And the best way to do this is ask them a universal question that they cannot help but agree with. Something like, are you all ready to join me in a celebration that really is truly memorable? You're going to help me with that? Well, with that, they cannot help but warmly applaud, even cheer, and be part of you on the same page, no longer sitting there judging you. Now, that never fails. But we've got to follow that up also with a little recognition of why they're there. So I normally say something like this. I'd like to thank you all for making the effort to be here. Parents, extended family, friends, colleagues, because your presence alone creates a supportive atmosphere that allows a collective celebration to take place. And that's a gift in itself. And that's the part you're going to be playing tonight. And I thank you for that. Now, right now, they're thinking, well, that's right. It wasn't easy to be here. It was a bit of an effort. And I am part of this. Wow. You see, now you're on the same page. Now, that is a strategy, a specific strategy that I use to get me through this nervous barrier. Because I've had people tell me, I'm all right if I can get through that first 2 minutes, and then in the talk, I'm okay. But a lot of people don't get through the first 2 minutes, and they never get to the good part. It's the bad part all the way through. So the question, universal question, are you ready for a celebration? And they'll respond, boom, your nerves are out there with them and become nice warmth. Then I remember one of my one-on-one sessions. He was an Indian doctor, and his culture was a little bit more reserved than ours. So I got him to get out of the box and try this. And so he told me that with his daughter's wedding, he opened up with, "Who likes a celebration?" He said, I couldn't believe it. He said, I was shocked. He said, they all cheered wildly. He said, and from then on, everything I said was wonderful in their eyes. They laughed. They had a tear in their eyes at times. And even when I asked them to stand, he said, I got a shock because they did. They believed in me. And what he discovered there is that audiences in a social setting love to be led. And when you ask them to stand and join you in a toast, they'll do so, whether it's 10 people or 1,000 people. So that's all wonderful. So now we move on to our next point. And we'll go on from there. And we're going to show you now a magic little formula that just works. It's full safe. And it works in any situation. And it's the past, present, and future. Now, that's been used by the storytellers of old for hundreds and hundreds of years. Who hasn't heard of once upon a time? And then the happenings are explained, a few things along the way. And in the future, they ride off into the sunset or live happily ever after. Can't fail. And this little formula also goes towards you not panicking because you've got purpose, you've got a little form. It even works with the eulogy, with someone's passing. For the past, you could share 2 or 3 highlights of the wonderful things they've done, the person they were. For the present, you could share this gathering with you all together of their sad passing, celebrating that. And for the future, you could simply speculate on all the wonderful ways you could remember this person. Easy. I use this formula with my mate Joe's big 0 birthday speech. I won't tell you what digit was in front of the big 0, but I used how are things then, past, how are things now, commenting on the current situation, and how will things be. I speculated about something positive that could happen to Joe in his life. So for the past, I shared how Joe and I met in a talent quest. And Joe beat me and has never let me forget it. I also shared how Joe and I shared a flat. And we had a washing machine in the kitchen. And every time it got to the spin cycle, we had to rush in there and jump on board. Otherwise, it would hop across the kitchen like a kangaroo. It was one of these bolt-down jobs, and we never got around to bolting it down to the floor. I also shared that how he met his lovely wife, Nikki, and how she had to sort of temper his wild ways a little bit. For the present, I commented on the current situation. We're all gathered there, and how wonderful it was, and how wonderful it was to see Nikki and Joe still together after successfully bringing up a family. For the future, I just wish Joe lots more happy birthdays and to live each one of them as if he was going to live to 100. And I loved it. Past, present, future. It's foolproof and it works every time. Now, you might be wondering, how am I going to remember all these words? You don't have to. Shortly, I'm going to show you how to rehearse a talk and not to every word. You don't remember things word for word. You talk to key ideas. So let's move on to our next point. Let's just have a glance at what that is. So down we go. And, help things sail along smoothly so that that ship reaches port and doesn't hit the rocks on the way. Ever been to a social occasion and not much happens? No one stands up and says anything. And before you know it, it's late and it's time to go. And then someone says, "Oh, the cake, I forgot it. It's in the kitchen." And the little talk is rushed and it loses its magic. Here's how to avoid things like that. With Joe's birthday that I just told you about, I learned that a school teacher friend of ours was going to also give a talk on that night. So I sidled over to, unbeknown to anyone else, and we arranged that she'd go first and then introduce me. We also liaised with the kitchen staff to make sure that the plates were cleared from the first course and they'd just hold off with the sweets for half an hour while we did our talks. That's just what happened. Ran smoothly without a hitch and no one knew about it. So you can help things sail along. Just because you got your talk under control and everything else is not going too smooth, you can play a role in that. And it's for everyone's benefit. I learnt this the hard way. I remember I was once a fellow guest speaker, we'll say, along with the politician Russell Broadbent. And it was a local service club. And Russell got up about 8:30 and gave us a very interesting talk on local matters. And half hour went by, and that was after dinner. That was at 8:30. Half an hour went by and sweets were served. Then another 2 hours went by. And the president got up. I thought, "Oh, that's me. I'm going to get introduced now." And you know what happened? He gave us a 70-minute, 70 minutes, I know because I timed it, 70-minute talk on administration stuff for the club. When he'd finished, people were one drink too many. They were all talking noiselessly. And the last thing they wanted was another speaker. But another 2 hours went by until I was introduced into that unfriendly environment, and it was awful. When I sat down beside Russell, who I thought would have long gone, but you know, he was still there. He gave me some sage advice. He said, never get up on a social occasion after 9 p.m. to give a talk, preferably 8:30. And for me, that's a golden rule and has been ever since. Make it yours. So, be in control. So now we move on to the wedding speech. It could be a wedding speech, could be an engagement speech, could be a birthday speech, a baptizing. They're all similar. So we'll use the wedding speech as a template. I once helped an Irishman, we'll call him Andy, to give a talk at his niece's wedding in Ireland. I gave Andy pretty well everything we've shared here today. I got him to see that an audience on a social occasion is not expecting a professional, polished performer up there. They're expecting one of the group, a relative, a friend, or some ordinary person to stand up and share a few words. So don't worry about getting everything right. Just be real and share some couple of heartfelt stories. That helps take the nervous off people if they know that that's all they have to be. I got Andy to open with a question. Who wants to join me to make this celebration really, really memorable? He told me, being an Irish audience, they all whooped and yelled, stamped their feet. And he said, I was into 20 seconds of my talk. I'd won them with that simple sentence. And of course, he then made them feel important by letting them know that they were giving a gift to the celebrants by being there and making the effort to do so. And he thanked them for that. Now they were ready for Ollie to segue into one of his stories about how he met his niece when she was little and he was visiting Ireland. So all these things are easy when you know how. And when Ollie got back to Melbourne with that success under his belt because he used the past, present, future, he said it was magic. He had to do the same with his own son about 6 months later. Now, Ollie really admired his son and really appreciated the things that he'd done in his life. But lately, he'd become a little bit lax around the home, helping his dad with lawn mowing, taking out the bins, looking after the dog. And it wasn't Ollie's dog, it was his dog, but Ollie was lumbered with it, had to do all the looking after. He soon found out why. His son had just met a beautiful wife-to-be, and he had other things on his mind. And every day he'd travel on the train to work, to and from, and had a lot of time to think about how he was going to juggle all these plates in the air together. So with Andy's talk at the wedding speech, he gently chided him by getting the audience to join him in the refrain of Sheena Easton's song, Morning Train. He even gave him a little test run by sort of conducting them in with his hands. And there's three things he covered. He covered the dog, putting the bins out and cutting the lawn. Every time he mentioned those things, he gave him a little wave and in they went. And he did it for me, so I know what it sounded like. I'll give you a little demo. So here we are, and I want you to really imagine that audience singing their hearts out just to be part of the fun. My baby takes the morning train. He walks from 9. He walks to 5 again. He takes another home and then to find me waiting for him. He said the crowd was hilarious. And Ollie's no singer, just like me. He might have tripped his tongue a couple of times, but the audience loved it. And the people that sang the loudest were the bride and groom. And all because Ollie had had success with his previous speech. He had the courage to do that. So this brings it on to how do you rehearse your talk so that you feel good. Now, I'm a classic example of someone not being perfect. I've always said you don't have to be the world's perfect speaker, but you can be an interesting human being. You can be believable as the imperfect person you are. And I'm an example of that. That's how I help other people do the same. Right, here we've got a lady sitting in a comfortable chair. That's how you rehearse your talk, not in front of a mirror, because that makes you look at, you say, oh yeah, that's what I've always known I look like that. And you put yourself down. So keep away from a mirror. Sit in that nice, comfortable chair and take yourself to the venue. Take yourself to that venue. See all those people there. Feel them there. That's what I do with these webinars. That's how I rehearse them, in my comfortable chair. Feel the warmth of those people. None of them are there to put you down. They're there to lift you up and lift the people at the centre of attention up. That's why they go to all the trouble of putting their best clothes on. Then rehearse your talk to some points. Past, present, future, a couple of little points underneath them, few notes, Have that in front of you and do this out loud. Out loud, just warn the rest of the family that you're going down to rehearse your talk. You haven't gone crazy. And just go over it. Now, here's a little secret. You do it in little blocks, each little story. And every time you do it, it's going to be ever so slightly different. Ever so slightly different. Different point in time and history when you do it. If you read it word for word, that's a different thing. Audiences don't read, they listen. It's the same in if someone says, oh, hey, listen, Laurie, just tell them the story you told me before. You've got to hear this. This is really good. So I say, okay. And I tell the story again, and it's ever so slightly different. And yet the images are the same, the feelings are the same, the pictures are the same, the story is the same. Just mirror the chemistry of the moment. Any talk you give is a dynamic, living thing, but your past, present, future gives you a form, a little framework on which to share that, like I'm doing with this webinar today. About a week before, reduce those notes and those keys down to a little palm sheet of 4 or 5 key ideas. Not long back, I was out at a show and I saw Eric Idle of Monty Python fame. He was wonderful. He just shared snippets of his life, things that have happened. And whenever he wanted to segue into a new one of 10 minutes or so, he just unobtrusively looked at that thing and away he went, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Referring to notes, there's nothing to be ashamed about. Professional people do it. So, there we have it. Let's have a look at what we've covered. Down. So we've looked at how to handle your nerves in those first 2 minutes. Start with a question they cannot deny and have got to agree with. Who loves a celebration and is going to join with me to help Joe say that was a fabulous evening? Yeah, you're with me? Yay. And then tell the audience how wonderful they are and thank them for making the effort of being there. And together we're going to make it happen. They'll love it. Now you're ready to go into your talk. Fail-safe 3-step formula. Think it, Joe. Unbelievably easy. Past, present, future. Help things sail along. Liaise with the kitchen. I once had a waiter walk right past my face with a tray full of empty glasses, clinking them. After that, I always made sure that didn't happen in a friendly way. The wedding speech. Think of Sheena Easton's morning train. That was wonderful. And he just plucked that out of the air. It worked perfect for that talk. And so the more you get the audience involved, the less pressure's on you, not the other way around. And rehearse your talk to key ideas. Now, all this is in my books. How to Take the Panic Out of Public Speaking. There it is there. And my webinars, you can go to any of those. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them at that link there. Okay. And there's half a lifetime of trial and error now of solutions that really do work. And the package of believing in you, being able to speak anywhere with confidence socially, and in taking that up before a group is there. You want to learn how to believe in yourself, walk tall, and talk in front of 1 or 1,000 people. That's the package for you. All of these QR codes enable you to say hello, send me a little review, and use the past, present, future thing for the review too. How were things then? That is before you looked at one of my webinars. How are things now that you put into practice? And what do you plan to do with it in the future? Lovely. Proof that it really does work. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with, as this is the last webinar for the time being, with a little saying I use with my YouTube snippets of life. So this is Laurie Smale, and it won't be long before you hear my next Magic Minutes.